It's finally time, guys. Awakened Warrior of Light is here. He's very easy for you guys to get access to. 25,000 Lapis for a guaranteed copy of him. It doesn't get much easier than that to get a hands on a character like this. And then the Immortal Knight Garland is also a freebie unit you can pick up, who is also very, very powerful in his own right. This video, though, guys, is going to be about the Awakened Warrior of Light, his usefulness as a tank, all the utility he's got, and why you may want him into your party. And we'll do a little short comparison to some other units possibly at the end of the video. If you want to see all the tanks versus each other, that's going to be a video that I am going to be putting out later on. But this one is going to be more focused on Awakened Warrior of Light. So let's start in here with his TMR and his Super TMR. His TMR is the Sword of Light. It does give you 20% defense, 46 raw defense, and then if you have this equipped to Awakened Warrior of Light or even normal 4-star base Warrior of Light, it's going to give you an additional 20% HP as well as 5% MP refresh per turn. So it's going to be a very, very solid weapon to throw on your Awakened Warrior of Light. It's a one-handed sword. It's going to give you 20% defense, 20% HP, and then a little bit of flat defense as well. So fits it with him very well. His Super TMR is the Shield of Light, Heavy Shield, 108 defense, 52 spirit, and then 30% water, wind, earth, and dark resistance, as well as the effect of Sentinel, which is going to give you an auto cast of Sentinel at the start of the battle. It's going to give you some damage mitigation. That's always going to be available to your character who has the Shield of Light equipped. So probably going to be Awakened Warrior of Light most of the time there. So it's pretty cool, the Sentinel effect. You're going to have like a better mitigation buff most of the time, especially with someone like Awakened Warrior of Light in your party. So it's nothing like super insane. It's more just like a big heavy shield with some elemental resistances attached to it. But the TMR Sword of Light is going to be pretty powerful. Speaking of TMRs and weapon selection, he's going to have access to a lot of different equipment selections. He's got knives, swords, great swords, katanas, staves, rods, bow and arrows, axes, hammers, spears, maces, as well as fist weapons. He does come with a built-in 100% holy resistance, which is very, very nice for him. And then he's got all of the armor selections in the game, anything from like heavy armor and shields to robes and helmets, and he's got it all. He's got it all there. So very, very strong equipment selection for our character here. Now let's get into his innate abilities. And as you can see, he is going to have a dual cast. He does have Divine Ruination as well as Stardust Ray Chaining Frame skills here. The first one we're going to be looking at here is the Guardian's Light Wall of Light. It's a Divine Ruination Chaining skill that gives 1,000 HP barrier for 3 turns to your entire party. And even though like these characters, they are tanks and stuff, you know, they're getting better multipliers on their skills that scale with defense. They're still not going to do insane damage with these skills. So a lot of these skills you're going to be using on these tanks are going to be able to chain with someone else and give you like some sort of general buff or some sort of utility skill. So like this one is a low 3.8 multiplier, and it gives you a 1,000 HP shield. He does have the Vanguard Glaive, which is going to be a skill that does a little bit of damage, but it's going to be a provoke of 100% for 3 turns to the caster, and it's going to give you 150% high tide for 3 turns as well. Now we're going to go down to Guard Strike real quick, which is also just going to be your general, kind of like a garbage move, to be honest with you, 3.2 multiplier scaling with defense. But if you use it after Vanguard Glaive, which can be the turn afterwards or the same turn, it's going to be changed into Sequence Strike, and it's going to be a 60% defense break, 100% or 100 flat MP recovery to the caster. Try to do a little bit of stop to the enemy and do a low multiplier. So this can be a defense break for you as well. And then moving down a little bit, after that, actually, we have Protective Blade, which if you use this after Sequence Strike, this skill changes into the Blade of Bonds, which is going to be a physical damage 5.2 times multiplier with defense scaling to one enemy. It's going to be Stardust Ray Chaining Frame family. It's going to be 100% light and peril, and it's also going to proc his AoE cover for 3 turns for himself as well. So he has those 3 moves as well to go in there, do a little bit of damage, chain up with the your teammates, and get his provoke activated, maybe get a defense break activated, heal his own MP, or even get his cover activated. And it won't take too long for you to set that up in that way. Now, moving into his other stuff here, we have Light's Remedy, cures all status ailments from all allies, and then has a little bit of a healing multiplier there, 1,000 HP with a 3.4 multiplier there. We have Buckler Blow, traditional AoE trash damage dealing skill, nothing really crazy that you're going to use. Then we have Brave Presence number 2. It's going to be a 4-turn 100% provoke for the caster there, as well as mitigate 30% physical damage for 4 turns to the caster. We have the Light is with us number 2, which is his AoE physical cover. It also gives a 500 HP barrier to all allies. Then we have Sacred Wave, Divine Ruination skill here, 100% light and peril for 3 turns to all enemies. So it can chain Divine Ruination. This is a dual castable skill as well. So you can do that and get that 100% imperil in there for your teammates. He also has a 60% attack and magic break attached to Deterrent Sword, which is going to be pretty cool. No chaining frame families there. It's just like a 5-hit random 1.5 times multiplier skill, so nothing crazy. He does have Light's Healing here, which is a 1500 HP multiplier with a 7.5 healing multiplier to all allies, and it's going to put a physical damage mitigation of 30% for 4 turns to all allies as well. Then he has Saint's Ward here, 1000 HP barrier for 3 turns to all allies, and a 70% lightning, wind, light, and dark resistance buff for 3 turns to all allies as well. Now we'll move into his 7-star big cooldown skills. This is where a lot of his power really is in his kit here. We have None can extinguish the light within us. 6-turn cooldown available on turn 1. It's going to give a 200% defense and spirit buff for 4 turns to the Warrior of Light. It's going to activate his AoE physical cover for 4 turns as well. It's going to put a 50% damage mitigation buff on your team for 4 turns, and it's going to give a 500 HP barrier to your entire team for 4 turns. So very, very, very strong skill that you can just go in, set it, forget it, and just kind of let it loose there. You're going to have the defense and spirit buff for your tank. You're going to have the AoE cover for your tank. You're going to have the mitigation for your tank and the rest of your team, and you're going to get a nice little HP barrier. So a very, very strong way to start a fight off. So incredibly powerful skill there. Now we have the Holy Bravery, 4-turn cooldown available on turn 4. This is Stardust Ray. It's going to be his hardest hitting skill. It's a Stardust Ray 30 times multiplier. That's light element, scaling off your defense, and it's going to be a 100% light and peril for 3 turns to all enemies as well. So it's AoE Stardust Ray. You're going to go in there, chain this up with other Stardust Ray users if that's something that you want to do. And he's going to be able to imperil for your team as well. He also has Obstructing Defense, 3-turn cooldown available on turn 1. This is going to mitigate damage taken by 70% for 1 turn to 1 ally except for the caster. It's also going to give 100 MP to the Warrior of Light, increase the Warrior of Light's limit burst gauge by 16 as well. Now this is going to be one of those skills that is going to be useful in certain circumstances with a lot of these bosses that we have that are coming out or that have skills that can't be covered, that can't be provoked, anything of that nature. This is going to be able to have, you can use this on a character of your choice. Your squishiest character, probably going to be your DPS of sorts, where you can use Obstructing Defense. Maybe you can gear your DPS to survive certain attacks, but you can't find a friend character that can survive certain attacks on certain turns, certain threshold attacks that can't be covered or whatever. This is where you're going to use a skill like this. Just 70% damage mitigation for 1 turn. You only need it for that 1 turn. Help your friend live through an attack. Maybe help one of your own units live through an attack that can't be covered or provoked or etc. And that's really where Obstructing Defense is going to be numero uno in those certain circumstances. We also have Invincible Shield, 10-turn cooldown available on turn 1. 150% defense and spirit buff for 3 turns to all allies, can't be dispelled. 4000 HP barrier for 3 turns to all allies. And Lightning, Wind, Light, and Dark resist increased by 100% for 3 turns to all allies as well. Going into his passives, he's going to have 80%, yes, 80% draw attacks, which I know a lot of you guys out there have the Moogle, the Moogle charm from the Leviathan fight that just came out not too long ago, which is insane. So you just throw that on him if you want him to be an auto draw attack tank. He's got some MP refresh, defense and spirit, and HP passives everywhere. He's got some limit burst gauge fill rate, and then we'll get down to some important stuff. We have auto cast Quelling Chaos at the start of battle, auto cast Unleash Power at the start of battle, and then the most important one here is his Trust passive. So if you have his Trust passive activated, you're going to get 40% defense, 40% HP, 30% fire, ice, lightning, and light resistance, and you're going to get auto cast Light's Blessing at the start of the battle, which is amazing. Amazing. He also has just like so many passives that give him spirit and HP and defense, etc, etc, etc. Spirit, HP, MP 30% here, defense 20%, defense 30%, MP 20%, HP 50%, defense 30%. Crazy, crazy, crazy good stuff here. Now let's get into his conditional skills. He does have Radiant Hero. At the start of your turn, he's going to try to blind all enemies with a 90% proc rate. So that's pretty entertaining. He's so shiny, and because he's the Warrior of Light, get it, that he just actively blinds your foes. Well, I guess you should say passively blinds your foes. Quelling Chaos, he's going to always have at least 100% defense buff on him at all times, and this because this cannot be dispelled, so it's going to help him out there. Unleashed Power, he's going to start with a full limit burst gauge because he is the CG protagonist. Light's Blessing, enable skill to the caster, double Crusader art. So this is from his Trust ability. If you have his Trust ability, you're going to permanently have dual cast for his skills up here that were highlighted. So a lot of this stuff is his chaining skills. You know, he doesn't have any of his covers in here, really, or anything of that nature, but his covers, when you activate them, do last a long time. So you can, you know, use None Can Extinguish the Light Within Us, which does like 15 things on turn 1 anyway, and then you can start working in your chaining skills, working in your breaks, your attack, magic, defense breaks, your elemental resistances, all of that stuff there. So very strong character. And then on top of all of that, he does actually have access to some nice white magic. So he has Kiraja as well as full life. So he doesn't have dual cast white magic, but you could get a dual cast on him if you wanted, you know, to him work sort of like how a lot of people use Chow for a long time, where you can actually use him to heal due to the amount of spirit and HP and defense that you can get on a character like Warrior of Light. A lot of people out there do like using double tank teams, and that's something that he's really going to shine in because of the 100% draw attacks builds that we have for a lot of different characters now. You can make him 100% draw attacks, make him really tanky, and you could just make him dual cast Kiraja over and over and over and use him in that way if you want to as well. So very cool stuff that you can do with CG Warrior of Light here. And then his last thing to talk about is his limit burst. It is the Crystal Braver. 36 limit burst crystal cost. It does give a 250% defense buff for 3 turns all allies. It also does a 23.5 multiplier in physical damage that scales off your defense over 9 hits. It also gives a 3000 HP barrier. So it's not the most crazy limit burst in the existence for tanks. It's really only there for like the defense buff and the HP barrier. So it's gonna be really nice for those fights where you want high defense and only high defense, don't really care about your spirit. And it has that nice 3000 HP barrier, so if you're not using something like Sylvie or something, you haven't experienced the spammable 3000 HP barrier, it's pretty nice to get that in there. One of his weaknesses, though, is he does have a 50% damage mitigation for your whole party for 4 turns, but he doesn't have this full uptime, so he can put it up very, very easily on turn 1 for you, but he doesn't have like a limit burst, something like Galoof does, for instance, or Sacred Shield Charlotte, where they can just keep doing that for you for the entirety of the fight. He'll be able to do it for most of the fight, 4 turns out of every 6 turns, so you're going to want to be able to cover that up with someone else for sure. But this is where we come into people using double tanks. People using double tanks is super awesome. Like if you pair him with Charlotte, you make Charlotte tank the AoE magic, and then he's your single target provoking character that tanks all the physical hits in a fight, and he can heal for you. Then he doesn't need to do that job. Or you can pair him with someone like Cecil, etc., coming into the future with those 2 characters, having all the different elemental resistances. It's a very, very solid combination. I think a lot of people are actually getting a lot of use out of the Kiraja Full Life Fang in a double tank team composition. He does have access to those Imperils of Light for you as well, and he can do some cool, solid support chaining for you. So this cooldown skill is just so easy to just have something like this. I've been replicating something like this, right, with a full team synergy, like the Exodia team comp where I'm using Sylvie and Meyer and CG Lidenfina in Charlotte, so I can get my cover off, and I can get my 50% damage mitigation off, and my defense and spirit buffs and stuff like that all off on my tank and the mitigation from my party. He just kind of like does that, you know, no nonsense on his own right there. So if you're looking for someone to give you a very solid go, then this is the character that's going to be able to do that for you. And he has got a plethora of other stuff for you to utilize as well, between his elemental resistances, his heals, etc., his chaining frames, his imperils, all of that good stuff. He's here and he's very strong. So let's do a quick comparison between should you pull for Warrior of Light. I guess we won't do a comparison. We'll do like a should you pull for Warrior of Light. So if you don't have a physical tank 7-star period at all, period, go and grab him up right now. It's one of the easiest tanks you'll ever be able to get your hands on. For the foregoing future, due to the fact that he's literally on that very nice 25k step up, where you just get a copy of him, you'll see the other one, you're good to go. If you're using a tank right now and you're very happy with your tank, you don't necessarily need another tank, right? If you're using Sieghard right now, you don't need to go and get Awakened Warrior of Light. If you are using Galoof, you definitely don't need to go and get Warrior of Light. Those two characters are very strong, especially in global, with a bunch of different awakenings that Sieghard did get. Now, are they better than Awakened Warrior of Light? No, but you can probably get by. You can totally get by. You can totally get by all of taking content with those characters for the foreseeable future. If you want someone like Warrior of Light, though, then definitely go for it. He's got a lot of cool stuff. He pairs really well with Cecil as well, in my opinion, because of the crazy synergy in the defensive utility that the newer tanks can offer together. Awakened Warrior of Light can heal really well. He's very tanky. He's got those HP barriers, the shields, the revives, all of that good stuff for you to be using in there if you want that defensive team comp set up. A lot of the other tanks, right, Sieghard and Galoof and stuff, they can tank all that stuff very well. They just don't have as much side utility. There's like Entrust on Galoof, which is very strong. I think Entrust is still one of the most underrated things in the game. Very powerful. He's got a couple of imperils and imbues and stuff of that nature. Sieghard's got a couple of things he can do too, but they kind of actively, whenever I use them, they kind of like, or watch other people use them, they kind of like run out of things to do, right? They tank, they put up their mitigation, and then they just guard. Someone like Warrior of Light has got the different elemental resistance buffs you can use in certain fights. He's got the MP healing for himself, the HP healing for the party, the defensive buffs for the party, the different heals that he has access to for the party. And there's a lot of different ways you can utilize him in that nature. So he's a very cool character in those aspects. If you want like a full breakdown on all the different tanks in the game, I am going to be doing that a little bit later in a couple of days or so, things of that nature. Awakened Warrior of Light, though, is very powerful. Hopefully you guys got the information you were searching for today. If you want him, go out there and get him. He's one of the easier characters to get your hands on, in my opinion. And if you have a bunch of UOC tickets, it might just be not a bunch of Lapis. It's probably just worth it to go get the first copy and then just UOC the second, instead of trying to spend on all of your Lapis on getting that second copy for Awakened Warrior, because you can use them for a long time. Now, we're going to talk about one last thing, and that's going to be Full Metal Alchemist still hasn't been officially announced in Global yet. I still think they're going to be bringing that out relatively soon, and Alphonse is on that banner. Alphonse is also a very good physical tank. I think Alphonse is the best Full Metal Alchemist collaboration character there is. So if you're a Full Metal Alchemist fan and you wanted to get a character that you're going to use, Alphonse is probably going to be the character that you're going to use. Now, that being said, Alphonse's Limit Burst is way better than Awakened Warrior of Light. It's got the defense and spirit buffs, it's got the HP barrier, and it's got the damage mitigation all on it. Very strong. I can't like do all the crazy heals and stuff that Awakened Warrior of Light can, but he's a very self-sufficient character. That being said, that it's going to be, if it's the same as in JP, a triple 5-star time limited banner. So getting someone like Alphonse compared to Awakened Warrior of Light is going to be much harder compared to the way that you get Warrior of Light with his 25k step up there. So that said, guys, that's what I think about Awakened Warrior of Light. I think he's really strong. I'm personally not going for him. I have so much gear and so many different tanks. I got AI, Katy Perry, and Sieghard, and I just don't really need the extra utility because I have everything kind of covered. I have my heals, right? I have my supports, my chains, all that other stuff. I don't really need anything particularly that he has. He is very strong, though. Anyways, guys, I'll see you guys in the next one, the Immortal King Garland video, as well as the tank video, as well as some 2019 to 2020 videos for you guys to consume this weekend. Stay safe out there, guys. Hope you guys had a great 2019. Hope you guys plan on having a great 2020, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.